nice day. Hope you're having, good times. Hope the week is treating you well. Hope work is great. Hope work is good. Today we're going to be doing a quick Jim Lee study. Well, I always say quick in these videos, but they're never quick. At least a drawing takes an hour or so. And you think, well, a figure drawing, and you think that, you know, uh, you think that when it's a study stream, it's going to you're going to do a lot of things, but at the end of the day you don't really cover much. But the purpose of these videos is like at least I learned something, even if it's just one from what I'm doing. So yeah, and so Jim Lee, we're doing Jim Lee today. um Jim Lee is Jim Lee is like one of the most iconic comic book artists. He sort of like revolutionized, like, will I say revolutionized? Well, kind of. The way of drawing superheroes. Like his characters has this superhero look to them. They always look serious. Not even when they have like fun expressions around them. They always, will I say, stoic. Like he draws a lot of Batman. So well, I guess that's associated with Batman's character. Um, but his characters, they look they look iconic. That's what I'm trying to say. And I'm going to start with this Nightwing pose, or his face, and I'll move to the rest of the body later on. But if you take a look at the way he draws faces, you're going to see that they usually have a sharp structure. Whenever I look at Damura's art, I see a lot of Jim Lee in it, especially with the way he draws eyes. Like his characters have like really angular cheekbones, and like this sort of like intense expressions to them. And the fact that he's always consistent with it just tells you that it's something he has perfected. I think he was working. He started work in the or would I say started work, or he became like quite popular in the 1990s, and when he did like X-Men and stuff like that. And yeah, he has worked for Marvel, DC, co-founded Image Comics. Um, the guys that have Invincible, the guys that have Spawn, the guys that have, what's the name? There's one other one I'm missing, one really popular one. But he's yeah, he has like had a huge influence on like the comic book industry globally, and I believe he's like the creative director at DC, I think. So yeah, I had a pretty successful a career as a comic book artist doing comics. Uh, hello, um, hello, Wanting Music. Uh, he said, "Oi, I believe you're from England, UK. I hope you're having a nice day. Thanks for saying hi. Uh, hope you're having a great day. I'm just doing a quick study of Jim Lee's art, and I'm just sort of breaking down what makes his art unique. And you know, one of the things is that he has this what I call it idealized anatomy. Like he knows anatomy, but most of the time he just, I don't want to say improvise, because most time a lot of artists improvise. um it's not like it's anything bad, but like just to make the art itself look iconic and look cool, um he just does a bit of anatomy that is not necessarily uh real, or it's not like part of the body once you actually take a look at it. So with regards to drawing this pose, one thing that has helped me with drawing poses is understanding of the negative space of the drawing, whether that be the reference I'm using, or like whether that be the reference I'm looking at, or you know, something like original art, that kind of thing, like this, so that I won't feel very frustrated about breaking it down. Apart from knowing the general anatomy, especially with figure drawing, and I figured out that I made his head too small. That's no problem. We can always adjust that. Yeah, so it's looking okay so far. Yeah. Um, what else about his art? So, like he also has a, what do you call it, great composition. Um, a lot of these artists have great composition. It's sort of like what's important to actually doing comic book art. You have to work on your composition. You have to work on your perspective, and all these things. Like so that your work looks good, presentable, so that it looks readable to people that are going to view it, and it doesn't look boring. Because nobody's going to read your comic if it's boring. Even the most simplest looking art styles with great composition, it can really draw in people to take a look at the story that the artist is telling. And another thing with him is that he uses blacks a lot. He doesn't shy away from like using blacks. Like his work is like uh, heavily detailed. A moment. So um, you know, his line work is how would I put it now? So when I say he does heavy details, he uses like hatching lines and stuff. But he doesn't like just do it like just make like rough hatches like around his work. I'm going to show you some examples of his work. You know what? Let's look at some Jim Lee's work. Um, let's look at some Jim Lee work. Right. Look at how detailed this work is. And if you zoom in a little bit more, you're going to be seeing a lot of hatches and textures, right? He just uses simple black and white, and he works traditionally a lot. We can see how he just uses, I don't know what to call it, he just applies whites here and there, and then he hatches over it, and the work just looks like so iconic, so imposing, like so fun to draw, right? He has some of the most iconic character poses in comics. Like what I enjoy is looking at the works with just black and white, because I'm working on my comic in just black and white to save time. uh, if I were to spend like hour like time coloring, I would I'll be working on it forever. So I like seeing black and white because it will like really you know inspire me on how to improve, like the areas to improve, or like sort of like techniques to use when drawing, right? These are really fun, and this is the thing I was talking about when I said he uses like exaggerated structural muscles. Like his muscles are accurate, right? They are accurate and they are amazing. But it's the same thing I was talking about when I was talking about studying anatomy, that you don't need to memorize every single muscle of the human body to do great anatomy. And of course, if you practice a lot, you're going to get better. But you just need to understand the structure, and you're always going to do something amazing. So as you can see here, like his muscles, it's not like, how would I put it now? The muscles, they are accurate, right? He has good anatomical structure, but sometimes he just improvises and he draws from his like he doesn't use a lot of references like that. He uses references, but he has been drawing for like what, 20, 30 years, 25 years. He has been working in comics for a very long time. has done thousands of works. So like he has a lot of his visual library is pretty impressive. Like I'm talking about the one in his head, and his backgrounds too. Like with these blacks, I really love the backgrounds, the way he does the background and just uses black and white very skillfully, and then he applies like pencils around for the shading and stuff like that. Like really great stuff. Um, the thing about I like about his work is that you can always just pick something and just like draw. You can just pick something and just draw. Um, Hello, Usman, Fahad. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Um, Thanks for reaching out and greeting. Um, I'm just doing a quick study of Jim Lee, but I just decided to like sort of look a bit at his art and sort of show appreciation for his work because they're really amazing. The way he uses black and white, like if there was a way. No, 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 I didn't draw that, man. That's this is Jim Lee's work. This is I'm just looking at it. This is Jim Lee. I'm just like sort of showing it. Uh, I'm just sort of showing it and just having a quick discussion. This is Jim Lee. It's in the title. The artist name is in the title. Um, so I'm just looking at the work. I downloaded a lot of this from Twitter or X, as they call it. So this is what I was talking about composition, where like obviously the main character in this is Batwoman. I believe this is Batwoman, and you can see how he just made her the focal point of this character of this like drawing, right? And then he has all these other characters and they are in good amount of detail, but he just focused on this main character, and then there are other fringe characters around. And look at how he just like piled everything into one, and there are a lot of characters and a lot going on, but it just looks so good. It just looks so good. And this composition reminds me a lot of Dan Mora. This one, like I did a study of Dan Mora yesterday and a few days ago as well. You would see like this composition style a lot with Dan Mora. Um, and that's why I say I see a lot of Dan Mora's art in this, or I see a lot of Jim Lee's art in Dan Mora's art. Because of course Jim Lee came before Dan Mora. I don't know if he inspired him directly, but I see a lot of the art in it. And another thing I like with his art is how he's very liberal with the way he uses hatches. Like he he doesn't like shy away from using a lot of it. Like you can see how much hatching lines is in this. I don't know if you can see that. There's a lot of hatching lines. And if this were to be Damora, I believe I have a drawing of Damora where he drew the Joker. He didn't use this much. He didn't use this much hatching lines. Let me check out the Damora sketch. He did a Joker, a sketch of Joker. Yeah, as you can see, it's not like he doesn't use hatching lines at all. It's just that he uses textures. Um, but uh, Jim Lee is going to focus a lot on hatches. He's going to focus a lot on hatches. Jim Lee, I mean, why is there? Yeah, so hatches everywhere, like even the muscles. Like he really takes his time with the works, and I just like how he does his hatches, man. It's just really amazing. So I'm just going to, enough looking at his work. I'm just going to continue with the pose that I was doing. And this was one of the works that he did, his early X-Men work. I really like it because I like seeing the old works of artists because um, you'll be able to see like where they started or sort of like what their style was before their present day. This is pretty phenomenal as well. You can see that iconic composition that he has with his characters. Like he's just able to put a lot there, and with the I believe this is it the Black Jet or something like that. Yeah, so like how like simplified it is still like detailed, but he has that. Like if you look at modern day comic book artists, you're going to see a lot of these styles. You're going to see a lot of them using this art style, a lot of them. So his arts work is pretty fun to look at, and also the way he does metal, like really cool, really cool. Like textures, like he doesn't need a lot to just actually get the texture of what he's drawing, like to pass along what he's actually doing. He just needs a little, and he's good. Like this is really amazing work. Yeah. Anyways, like such great poses, man. That you could just use and just practice with. Like great poses. Yeah. Let's get back to what I'm doing. Yeah. Let's back to temporary mediocrity. Yeah. So, anyways, that is Jim Lee. He has great line work. He's quite fast as well. You can check out his Twitch. Um, he's really fast. He's really fast. Let me just adjust this head. Um, yeah. Sometimes I just figure out that I could be zooming in too much into the work instead of like just taking it far away so that you can properly get the anatomy of what you're drawing. I think I made that mistake here. I also made his I call it his chest area too big. So there's a lot to learn from his work. When I was younger, I read a lot of Jim Lee's work, not his older works, not his like the works he did in the um what I call late 90s. I believe like the Batman Hush and was it the one Batman and Robin? I think that was the name. I read those ones as well. Those were the major ones I read, especially Batman Hush. I looked at that over and over and over and over and over again. Very inspiring work. The neck, the clavicle, the leg, could put that there. We'll put that there, and then the chest. Then it just means that his arm should be a bit higher. Even characters that are not so bulky, like Nightwing. Nightwing he has this gymnast physique, but he still finds a way to draw him in a way that makes him look muscular but not bulky at the same time. It's a really great skill. It's the same thing that I'm sorry I'm comparing him a lot with Damura, but I see a lot of things that Damura does, or rather that Jim Lee did, that Damura like uses in his work. Um, it's quite cool. Anyways, I think I'm tweaking too much. Trying to make it perfect when I should just get on with it. I'm tweaking too much. Trying to make it too perfect. Yeah, I think I'm going to use this as my base and then work from there. Yeah. So, yeah, let me erase this and begin to detail. If you're just showing up, please just give the video a like, and subscribe if you haven't. Trying to get to 2K subscribers. Hello Delvin, 1695. Hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the stream. We're just doing a Jim Lee study. I've applied the base for the character. This drawing, I don't know if you can see it. I've applied the base for this drawing, and now I'm just looking at the face and yeah, trying to study it. So one thing I've learned from thank you. One thing I've learned from Dan Mora and Jim Lee is about drawing faces is that the characters, like I said before, they have high cheekbones, right? So like to make them look handsome, like with their facial details, you kind of have to not do so much. Like you don't need to add a lot of like lines. In terms of what I mean by that is you don't need to add a lot of lines when you're dealing with the eyes, nose, and mouth. You just need to keep it simple and use minimal line work, and with a good structure. If you have a good understanding of like drawing the human head, it's going to be quite easy for you, because understanding the human head, like anatomy, it's difficult on its own, and then like trying to understand an artist's art style, it can be quite tough at the same time. You said, can I draw Snoopy after this? If you wanna, of course, not forcing. Who is Snoopy? Like do you mean Snoop Dogg, or do you mean like I think there's a character dog called Snoopy, I believe. Now maybe next time. This time I'm just focusing on like Jim Lee's study. It's a study stream. Plus I don't know how to be honest. I could, but I don't know how to. I don't know the character you're talking about. I don't know if you're talking about Snoop Dogg or like that brown looking dog in cartoons. Yeah. So if you look at these eyes and then you look at, let me show you the Dan Mora's eyes I did yesterday. Let me look at the reference. Let me get it. Let me get any Superman reference at all. Like if you look at the eyes, you will see that the eyes are quite similar, especially with masked characters. Like you can see, it just has that simple eye drawing, that cartoon style. It's the same thing with like the eyes, these superheroic eyes. Like the eyes are very iconic. He just makes them like a triangle, and they're quite cool. I can't lie, they're quite cool. And I just recently observed this, and then with that he's able to get a lot of expressions. So with this he could make his eyes like as if he saw something incredulous, right? He could make him like feel dull, right? He could get a lot of expressions there, and he could just do a lot with the eyes, and he does the same for Batman as well. And yeah, the sort of a lot of artists use this technique. There's a lot of expressions and emotions that you can get from using the eyes. Depends on what you're going for. How do you learn drawing? Do you go courses or from web? Delvin, right? Thank you. I really appreciate, man. Yeah, so how I learn. Uh, I, I don't, I can't afford courses, so I just get books. art books, and then I watch YouTube tutorials. YouTube tutorials. That is how I learn. Hello, Pure Candy. How are you doing? Hope you're having a nice day. And he said, love the drawings. How do you learn to draw? Um, yeah, like I learned from books and YouTube tutorials, and I do a lot of studies. Um, it's quite boring, but they have been helpful. So I don't feel comfortable with my art a lot of the times. So whenever I feel like I'm not good enough, like especially when I look at top artists like Jim Lee, what I do is that I then go to, like, I then look for how I can improve. So if there are free courses, I just take them. I take those free courses, or if there are tutorials online, there's a lot of resources on YouTube, here on YouTube. But there are also like courses that actually go really in depth into whatever it is you want to study. So that is like that's sort of what I look at. Um, yeah, there are a lot of free like resources online, like books. And then of course I try to learn the art fundamentals. I haven't learned any of them like properly, apart from like just anatomy. So all right, Delvin. Have a nice day to you too. Have a nice day. Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate. So when you learn things like anatomy and stuff, like the art fundamentals, anatomy, perspective, composition, value, form, things like that, you learn the basics. It's going to be easy for you to like replicate an artist's art style, or like get your own art style. I made a mistake with these eyes. I'm seeing that the eyes should probably be a bit bigger. You can see that trapezoid shape and what he's doing with it. It's quite interesting how like subtle changes can just affect the entire look of your character. Yeah. But like what I would recommend is that you don't just like, if whatever medium you want to work in, whether that's animation or whatever, of course you can just jump into that. But I would suggest that you just do a bit of um basics, understanding of the basics before you go jump into um those disciplines. So I'm trying to say. So if you're doing like, if you want to do comic, because that is what I talk about a lot. It's the area I try to focus on. You have to understand anatomy first of all, because you're going to be doing a lot of figure drawing. So you know you have to like understand how the human body looks realistically, before you can then bend those principles um, to do to your own preferences, or how you want them to look. You can see how much of how square the jaws of his characters are. I probably did mine too much, um, but it's all right. It's all right to make mistakes, but the proportions are all right. Then you can add the hair. Right, so just adding a mask. Adding a mask. So the way you could study is that all you could do is that you could just get like for instance, like let's say you the one thing you want to pick from like Jim Lee's art is the way he draws faces. So what you could just do is you just pick different faces that Jim Lee has done, and then draw from there. Like just only faces, just pick faces, and just do that over and over and over again, and you're going to get better. Um, yeah, that's just it. Like I said, with a lot of these studies, I'm just trying to make the drawing my own. Um, like pick the things that I would pick, and then like develop that from there. So as you can see, what he did with the nose here, what he just simply did was that the nose, he just broke it down, like he just the simple structure of the nose, just brought this down here like this. Then we have the nose structure, as simple as that. This simple shape is what he used to get the nose. And then what he did was that he then used, because of the mask, the way the mask works, um, the he just made the mask follow the plane of the nose. And because the nose is shaped like this and there's a slope beneath this other edge, you're just going to see the other side of the mask like this. Same thing with this area. That's why, because it's a mask, it's along this straight plane like this, and there's consistency. So that's why I talk about structure a lot. Very important. You're going to see that like all over the body. So like the chest, if there's a design across the chest, because of the broadness of the character's chest, you're going to see it curve across that plane. So it really depends on the plane and the structure of the character's body and what he's wearing. Very important. You know what? I'm going to detail this. Should I? I feel like I should just add the inks first. Let me just add a bit of outline here and there to just make it nice. All right, so the neck, right? Most times people kind of get confused with the details that most artists add, comic book artists and artists in general add, and they add those details because they sort of understand anatomy. Like for this ear, for instance, now the reason why there's this highlight in this part of the ear is because when you look at the ear, normally like this, there's usually a peak. This area, there's usually a peak that usually protrudes, and because the light is coming like sort of from behind him a bit, there's a bit of a highlight, blue tinted bounce light that is just bouncing and going up to this ear. This area, the highest part or the highest peaks of the ear are going to be visible. That's why you're seeing like these areas like this, like that, and including this area because it's also high. So it's the same thing like across the body. You have to do this over and over again to actually get good at it, and notice these observations and then practice them over and over again. Now for this character, I'm giving him a beard. Giving him a beard. I'm going to give him a beard. All right, and you can see another thing I talked about is his line weight. He doesn't necessarily need to use pure blacks a lot, so he could just make the thickness of make a particular part of the face very thick, and then he has been able to highlight the rest of the lips, or the rest, or like other body parts. All right. So I was talking about the neck. So the neck muscles, we have our sternocleidomastoid on the neck. That's why you see it goes all the way to the clavicle. That's why you see things like this. And because of the detail of the characters, what do I call it now? The detail of a character, or the detail surrounding a character and the light and everything, it can cause a bit of like confusion, like to people that actually want to learn the, like trying to copy a particular artist. And if you don't understand like basic anatomy or basic structure, it can just leave you stunned. So it's just something to like sort of take note of. Right, so then we have our clavicle over here, or collarbone. um, just put that there like that. Then we have our triceps, trapezius muscle. I said triceps, trapezius muscle. And then the that's our triceps actually, that one over there. And then we're going to draw the hands. Hands do give me problem, but one thing that has helped me is to just break it down, like a simple shape, and I divide it into planes, right? So what we're having here is, you could make it individual planes for each fingers, or you could make it like a general plane for each, like for like the entire hand. That's what you could do. And it might not come out well sometimes, but with practice, you're definitely going to draw better hands. But always add the ulnar bone. As simple as that. I think maybe the hands, I did them a bit too small. That's just inexperience. And then we have our knuckle area around here. That's why it's kind of like valid and important to learn the hands, the anatomy, I mean, so that if something is not looking all right, you can sort of look for things that you could do to just make it pop a bit more, so that you can console yourself that you're not a trash artist or things like that. Whatever negative feeling you may be having about your art. All right. Um, Now we'll do the we'll do the that's the lat muscle. Because of the shadow of this thing around him, it's kind of it's I see the shadow. It's kind of creating a shadow around his even though he's wearing black already, it's kind of creating a much more darker shadow. All right. Then these are the thighs. the muscles of the thighs. That is our sartorius muscle. That just separates the plane, and then the quad muscles and things like that. And the calf muscle. All right. That's the knee, or what they call it, kneecap. So what he just did cleverly, to just sort of, because of how dark it is, he just like put little highlights here and there to just separate the muscles and the planes of the legs. Um, you know, the last time I made the head too small, now I made the head too big. I might have to reduce the head a bit. So he's just using a silhouette here and there to like just get the shape. Some clever techniques, that only years of practice can actually can actually you can actually access to make your work look good. I'm going to reduce this head a bit, a tad bit. All right. All right. Um, I'm just going to put this balustrade. I believe that's what it's called. I don't think it's a balustrade. Hello, Angel, sweetie. Hope you're having a great day. Thanks for reaching out again. I haven't seen you for a couple of days. So I hope your days were nice and fun. I'm just doing like a study of Jim Lee's artwork, comic book art. Um, trying to pick one or two things from his work. And so far, what I've been noticing is like his facial structure, the way he draws faces. I'm doing well, thank you, Angel. I'm doing well. Um, hope your family is good as well. Yeah, like I was saying, the things I've noticed from his work, he has really crisp lines, and he applies line weight pretty well, and he uses cross hatching lines a lot, very well. In comparison, because I see a lot of, I see you know I see a lot of Jim Lee's work in Damora, in the sense that in terms of like the facial structures, the way the characters look, there's a lot of similarities. The one difference I would note is that Jim Lee applies much more detail to his work, but like everything else, it's quite similar to Damora. I'm going to start adding a bit of black. I'm going to add a bit of black here and there. I think I made his forehead too long. I'm going to reduce that. Yeah, just just a little black. To make the work much more bolder and to pop more. Oh, what Arsenal have bottled it? What? They're, they're drawing the match. Oh my god. Arsenal are drawing. What the hell? Oh my days. Um, I'm just monitoring a football match that is actually going on. Oh my god, is that real? Oh my god. Wow. Yeah. Oh my goodness, the goal stood. The goal stood. Nah, nah, nah. This is actual fun. Yeah. This extra detail I'm adding is, it's just something from my own character. Um, Nightwing is actually one of my favorite superheroes, if I'm being honest. Actually, I think my favorite is Iron Man, and then I have Iron Man, Thor, and no, Iron Man, Daredevil, and Thor. I really like Daredevil. I really enjoy all these acrobatic ninja-like characters, especially Daredevil. Like Daredevil stories have just been fun to read, like the comic book stories. Um, they have just been cool, man. I don't know if anyone reads Daredevil, but they have like quite they have been really good. Oh my goodness. What? Arsenal drew. What is going on? Yo, they are shook, man. Could this be the... Wow, I don't believe it. They drew. Oh my goodness, they drew. What? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Wow. It's in the genes. Wow. How did they draw, man? Like, that's crazy. Yeah, so what I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to follow the structure of the face. Ideally, what I should really be doing is, well, something better than that. Um, but anyways, let's just look at the little details on the mask, man. Really, really cool. I'm just going to try and sort of match what he did here. Um, So you can see, yeah, most of these things don't get talked about a lot. You can see over here his eyelids, yeah, because we have our eyelids. If we are looking at the planes of the face, you have the eyes, yeah. Let's just do a circle. You have the eyes, right? And the eyes is made up of the eyelids, right? This little stuff here, right, that opens and closes the eyes, right? There's the upper eyelid, and then there's the lower eyelid, yeah. And the planes of the eyelids get seen depending on the angle of the face. And you can see because of the planes of the eyelid, he and because the light is sort of coming from beneath, you're seeing that the eyelid at the top is going to be receiving less light, so it's going to be in darkness. But he still takes his time to sort of like apply the like darkness and indicates the lower eyelid. And you wouldn't know that if you don't understand the structures of the face. Or things like that are going to be, they can be confusing. And like all these details around the face that is adding, it's just going to make you um, you know, confused. So it's just good to do the hard work in the beginning. Oh my. Just do the hard work in the beginning and understand the basics, and you won't be lost. Why are Arsenal losing to Wolves, man? What? Yo. All right. Uh, take note of the planes of the face and light direction. That's why it's so difficult. Um, you try to start to do to work like these guys, but then there are just a lot of things that actually make their work look rich. Just a lot. You can see that little plane there. All these little details is what actually makes his work exceptional. You know, it's not something that happens in a day. This is years of practice, years of, you know, because there's sort of like a separation here in my own character's mask. I'm going to have to do that as well. Nightwing doesn't usually have a lot of frown lines on his work, on his face. He's a bit of a jovial character. Yeah, that's yeah. So you can see there's a lot going on in just the face alone. There's a lot going on in just the face, and for him, he probably finishes this in like 5 minutes or something. But when you're studying this artist, you actually have to take your time, because you know that is how you improve. You can't rush these things. Anyway, you can see how he's just using a little plane for. I'm just gonna do mine like this, and then add this adds a bit of hatching line. And if you want, you could also do something like this, depending on the shape of the nose and light direction as well. And then his nostrils. Like it's just so fun, man. Um, the issue is that I don't when I'm doing these studies, I don't like erasing my sketches completely. Plus, this pen I'm using is so like it just tempts me a lot to just keep working. I can see the nose here is actually. Can I draw Black Panther? Yes, I can draw Black Panther. I can draw Black Panther. Um, but I'm not drawing him at the moment though. But usually when I do those kind of drawings, I use a lot of references. Um, I can't draw them by heart, but like for optimal results, I have to use references. I'm going to add a bit of beard over here like this. Smartacles, right? Hope you're having a nice day, bro. Please, if you're just coming in, please just hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't. Uh, by the way, just be done with this beard real quick. I'm going to add this beard and fill it with black real quick. Simple as. And of course, depending on light direction as well, you could also always take it a bit further. I think Jim Lee will approve. But you have to be careful with your hatching lines. Like what I just did right now, um, just a few seconds ago, I couldn't go back. It, it, it kind of affected the way it looks. So you kind of have to follow the plane of like the hatching lines. You have to follow the plane of the face. If not, you would end up with something that doesn't look right or a shading technique that doesn't look right. I did that a lot when I made that mistake a lot when I was younger. As you can see, like his own artistic choice, he doesn't add that V at the middle of the lips. When you have a lip, you usually have this M line, right? And the upper, you have the upper and lower lip, and then you have this V shape. He doesn't add it. It's what I've noticed. But I think with women, he adds it because he usually makes their lip very succulent and adds a lot of makeup to their lips to make it look pretty. But for the guys, it's just like a very simple plain. So one thing that I hope that has helped me with this type of work is like when I look at shading, right? I look a lot at the shape. I look a lot at the shape. Very important. Look at those hatching lines, man. Look at those hatching lines. For me, I view it as daring because a lot of people care a lot about the faces of the characters. I don't mean he doesn't, but because of how much they like would care a lot about how their character looks, they wouldn't dare to like put any lines on them on their characters. Um, yeah, 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 Adam. Hello, Adam. Sorry I missed your message. I was looking at my screen. You said Jim Lee. What have you found with his style? Yeah, it's very similar to Damora. I talked about earlier. I talked about that earlier in the stream, Adam. It's very similar to Damora. The only difference is that, like I said earlier in the stream, is that he uses a lot of like heavy cross hatching lines, and like he adds more texture than Mora does to his work. Like he adds a lot of detail in terms of texture, and he can just use simple hatching lines. Like he has different hatching line technique, so he will just use different hatching lines style to just like add detail to the work. And if you look at the cheekbones of his characters, like it's very similar to Damora. You will see that. I don't know if Damora has ever said it in the interviews, because his interviews are usually in Portuguese, I believe, or Spanish, I think. He the way his characters look, they look very similar to Jim Lee's characters, but he doesn't apply as much detail as Jim Lee, and he's a bit more simpler with his approach, and that is why it's very easy to differentiate. That's what makes Damora's art, in my own opinion, quite unique, and that's what makes Jim Lee's art unique as well. So, and that's the fun thing about studying art styles, right? You just pick the things that you actually appreciate about a character, a particular artist art style. You pick what they have that you appreciate. It was what I was talking about with Jim Lee, where I said, I wouldn't like to draw faces the way David Finch draws faces, but everything else with regards to muscle and detail, I would love that. Um, so you could pick faces from a particular artist, and then you could either reduce the something from the way that artist draws. Maybe it's you could add less muscle or something like that, and just that single change alone is what would just differentiate you from that artist. That single artistic choice is what is going to differentiate you um, from that artist. um, so that is why you have to do the studies. You have to do the studies, because if you don't do it, you won't really find out, right, what you like. In my own humble opinion. So that's why I copy a lot. I copy a lot, and eventually, and of course, as an artist, you can progress. Yeah, you can progress. If you look at all these artists, if you look at their art style, like if you look at Jim Lee's art in the 80s, it didn't look like this. It didn't look like this. Yeah, he said, oh, okay, I can see that now. Lee is like a more realistic Mora with details from hatching. Exactly, man. That is well put. Exactly. That is what Jim Lee is. Jim Lee is a more realistic than Mora, right? Just like how Jason Fabok in my opinion, is a less realistic David Finch. If you look at David Finch's art and you look at Jason Fabok art, if you look at their art, you are going to see that Jason Fabok's art is very similar to David Finch's art. The only difference is that um, Jason Fabok uses less detail. His work is pretty detailed, but is less detailed in comparison to David Finch. But their anatomy, the way they draw muscles, it's quite similar. It's quite similar, and it's sort of the same thing with Damora. I don't know if they've ever like met in a room together, but I do know that with David Finch David Finch and Jason Fabok have like a relationship. I think Jason Fabok mentored under David Finch, and I think they're both Canadians, so they have a relationship. So that's why you can see the similarities in their art style. And I don't know if Dan Mora mentored under David Finch or other under Jim Lee or not, but that is just what I noticed about their art style. Like if you were to just put their faces together, their faces, the way they draw faces, is very similar, right? Even their exaggerated muscle structure is quite similar as well. Like, they have this idealized anatomy. It's not always, following the traditional, like, how anatomy looks, but it's still consistent with the structure of the human body. And but Jim Lee uses a much more detailed um version or form of that. And um and I don't know, how to put this. Like, there is more texture when you look at Jim Lee's art in comparison to Danmora's art. Damora keeps it simple. He doesn't like, maybe because he always has too much work on his plate. At the moment, I believe he's the one carrying DC on his head. So, like, he has a lot of work. But even when he was doing independent titles like Klaus, and there was one other one, I don't remember. Hello HK37. Nice to meet you. Thank you. I really appreciate. I'm just copying what Jim Lee is doing. I'm just like studying his own work. Adam, you said the Canadian maple syrup makes their exactly, man. Exactly. Exactly. Thank you for the compliment, HK 237. I really appreciate it, man. Um, I really appreciate it. Canadian maple syrup. Good one. All right. So you can see, like, the areas where he didn't add shadow. Those are the areas where the light direction is, and like his colorists, they just know that instinctively, and they just follow, sort of like follow his direction. And also, um, there's a lot to take note of. That's why, sometimes it can be quite tasking, like studying these artists, because of there's a lot going on in an image, and they may apply something in one image and not apply that same technique in another image. So um, you just have to do it over and over again, over and over and over again, to actually get good, and you're going to get better with each new study that you do. Yeah, as simple as that. um Yeah, so I'm just adding the blacks. So, like, the thing about the neck, right? People get confused about the neck. Like, just how I explained the nose structure and how he, applied the mask on the nose, because, people might get this wrong a lot. So we have the neck. The way I drew or studied the neck is that I understand the neck as a simple cylinder, right? And it's or a tube, right? And then you have muscles on top of the neck. And the major muscles on top of the neck, or the things to note about the neck, is the clavicle, right? Or the collarbone, right? And the clavicle actually extends all the way, like, to our pelvis over here, like this. And then our arm, right? Right? We have our clavicle, and then we have our sternum or our chest bone, very important. And then you have your, like, from the root of the ear, like, this is our ear, right? And then we have our sternocleidomastoid bone, muscle, that goes all the way from the bottom of the ear all the way to the sternum. The muscle connects to the sternum and the clavicle as well. And that's why it's called sternocleidomastoid, because the steno stands for sternum, cleido stands for clavicle, and mastoid refers to the mastoid process, like at the bottom of the ear, like under the ear, really. So, like, this is the shape of the sternocleidomastoid. this V shape, right? And I actually call it the reverse Y shape. Um, it's quite big and heavy. It's quite big and heavier than this, and that's what sort of makes that V shape on your neck when you look at it. And around that is your tricep muscle, trapezius. I always say misplace trapezius and triceps. Trapezius muscle, right? That actually goes like this. And because this can cause a lot of confusion, especially when you see that in different angles, and that's what's going on here. And if you don't understand that muscle formation, it can be quite difficult to not like capture or understand what this artist are doing around this area. Because what he's doing right now is that he's just playing with the light in different angles. And because of the structure of the clavicle, you are seeing that because of the structure of the clavicle, you're seeing that it's a bit higher up like this. And then we have our trapezius muscle, or at least the front view, um, like this. So simple, right? So they just understand this basic anatomy, and then they apply it. Trapezoid. Okay. Thanks, man. Trapezoid. Trapezoid. Uh, yeah. Anyways, and then he uses this hatching technique that David Finch uses as well. I can never ever get the form. It's probably because of my pencil. Um, but what I'll just try to do is I'll try to make a curve. Ideally, I should make the. That looks very horrible, man. That looks terrible. Let me change the pen. Um, let me use a different inking pen. Yeah, that's a lot better. Even though it's not consistent. You embarrassing myself here. Right. Yeah. So something like that. I probably wouldn't do that again. Thanks for the assist, Adam. Yeah. Uh, so we have the highlight here at this part of the neck as well. Don't forget the structure of his outfit. So if you were to be doing your own character, it'd probably be a lot different. It'd probably be a lot different. Um, you study other artists as well, so that you can be able to make your own decisions as well, because you could prefer the way another artist might do this. Like for Dan Mora, for instance, he would just add like a texture around this area like this and be done with it. And I think he'll be done with it. He wouldn't bother too much about it. Um, but we're not studying Dan Mora. Still doesn't mean we can't make our own choices. Yeah, that's looking all right. Oh, I said sorry, I was wrong. You were saying it correct. Trapezius, um, trapezius muscle, and it has a trapezoid shape. Yeah. The trapezoid muscle, it's I kind of like it because it has this like simple shape. If you look at it, it looks like a diamond. It makes like the formation of the different muscles kind of creates like a diamond. If you look at it like this, it looks like a skewed. Is this skewed? Is that the word? Skewed. It looks like a skewed square, and it also looks like a diamond. And if you look at it at the back of your head, um, how would I call it now? Um, Sorry for this tangent. Like I said, draw the neck as a cylinder. Now I'm looking at the back of the head now. So the muscle like goes from the neck like this, and then forms this like weird shape like this. Like there are different muscles that came together and they are one. And yeah, has some people, they also call it the butterfly muscle, I believe. And then you have your deltoid here, uh, and then your sternocleidomastoid here like this, and then your ear, yeah, your ear around like this, and then your head, and then you have a trapezoid muscle. Different people represent it differently though. Um, it depends on, like, well, people's anatomy are different, so not that they are different. They have different shapes. They look differently. Yeah. So for some people, like the four abs, the like four packs, they are much more pronounced because of their genetics. And while other people, their three abs are the most pronounced. Like no matter how much they work out or how lean they are, um, yeah, it's just genetics. Yeah, so we are seeing, because of light direction and his body, you can see there's a lot of shadow that is actually coming in this direction like this of his body. Right? Also because of this, the position of this stuff over here. Um, because the light is hitting this stuff and then it's casting a shadow on his body. And that's what's happening there. Um, Very great stuff. So what you're just seeing here now, you just be seeing him like manipulating, using his skill of how he manipulates lights and things like that to just bring out the shape in the, like, also the texture, because it's leather. Yeah, there's this squeeze at this area, um at this area of the hands. Yeah, that's really nice. Anyways, let me add the symbol, town hall, different from Bala Blue. You can see how he's curving the lines of the costume around the Nightwing's muscle. Um, that all comes down to structure. I know I keep saying it, but it's very important and it's vital. It's what will make your work actually pop and look real, like give real form to your character. You can see it's curving around the biceps, the brachialis, and the tricep muscle. um Reminding you of Blade with the hair and goatee. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my God, that Blade, was it in 1999? I don't remember when it was released, but I did watch it when I was young. And that movie wasn't for what's his name? Wesley Snipes. That movie wasn't for young kids, man. I don't know how I watched it. Well, it was so cool. I remember using my wrapper. I would just tie my wrapper around my neck and use that as blades as my cape. as like Blade's outfit. Oh my god, he's such a cool character, man. His hairstyle, oh my god, his hairstyle was so cool, man. Like that fade that he would do, like, and nah, Blade was different. I heard there's supposed to be another Blade, Marvel Blade, but they haven't done anything with the guy yet. And I like the character that they casted. The man, I said character, the actor that was casted, I really like him. But it seems he's just getting old and they haven't done anything with him yet. This was the character I just designed. I wrote a story for him, but I kind of don't like the story I wrote, so I've just been leaving him. He has just been sitting on my pad for years now. I did this character, I think back when I finished secondary school. Immediately I finished secondary school, I believe. I was doing a lot of characters, just creating a lot of character designs, and yeah, I created this one. He uses this character uses a catapult. Uh, he uses catapults, but like a much more like techie one. This catapult looks, and it has the, oh yeah, they call it a slingshot. He uses a slingshot, and then he has these interesting looking pebbles, high techy pebbles that he just draws, and it's sort of like my own take on Green Arrow, but he's not an archer, so slingshot is something we used when we were younger to pluck mango from mango trees. So hello, Emily. How are you doing? Hope you are doing well. Adam, you said Wesley Snipes was smooth with the sword. Oh my goodness. Like his fight scenes, I liked how jacked he was, man. Like he was just a perfect character, perfect actor for the Blade role. Like it's so cool. And even in the recent Deadpool show, he still looked great, man. I know that there's a lot of like makeup and stuff that goes into making them look good, but like he still looked phenomenal. I love that guy. So cool. He's such a cool character, man. Such a cool character, and his abilities are just fun. Like, oh my god, Blade. Um, yeah. Hi Emily. Thank you for the compliment. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm just doing a study of like Jim Lee's work. Um, thing about me is I just noticed I rushed the studies I did. Like if you check the David Finch study I did, um, I they were terrible. But I didn't delete them because well I kind of liked that I still did the video regardless. So I'm just going to try and take my time with these studies and make them look decent, even though they may not look as good as the main art. I'll just try and like make them look all right. Something that I won't want to vomit when I wake up in the morning and look at them. So yeah, that's my goal with the studies. And definitely my art will improve as well in the process. um yeah, so yeah, Wesley Snipes, man. Oh my god, Wesley Snipes. Oh my goodness, he's such a like great actor. I think I watched, there was a time period where he was just buzzing, like he was you know how these days like we have like Timothy Chalamet and like I don't know whether they are like cycles of actors that just become popular or things like that. Like how we had with what is this guy's name? I've forgotten his name. Uh, he was one of my favorite actors growing up. He acted was it Liar Liar Doctor or something like that, and he acted in Sonic. He's the like villain character in Sonic, and he acted in The Mask. Very ridiculous personality. But anyways, um, regarding Wesley Snipes, he was really buzzing. He was really buzzing and popping off that year. There were a lot of movies that he was being casted in and things like that. But I don't know why all of for whatever reason, um, like I stopped seeing him in movies. Like even really like good action movies, you would expect him to be. Um, he said Wesley was also in an action movie, Demolition Man would recommend. You know what? Like some days I just need to sit down and just check out these like OGs, like all these old shows I really liked when I was young. Like when I was young, I really liked Ben 10. Ben 10 was probably one of the most coolest thing I had ever seen when I was young. I remember like even there were some really creative guys when I was in primary school. They actually made a watch. They made a watch with paper, right? I don't know like the constructed it. You know how they have this origami, when you use paper to like construct animals. These guys they used paper to construct like chessboards and watches, and they constructed something like Ben 10 watch. It was lame, right? But like it was kind of cool. You just draw the Ben 10 character there. They didn't draw it exactly, but they could just write the name or something, and then they would like just switch the paper, and you would see that it was like Ben 10. Like it was just so cool. And I drew a lot. I drew a lot of Ben 10 when I was young. I would pause the TV show and just draw it. I think I just downloaded one season of it. I couldn't find the full season, like where I was living. He said it's it's on YouTube now. I just pop movies and draw sometimes. Yeah. Me too. Like I don't like in my like my zip code doesn't allow for movies to be shown on YouTube. Like I don't see movies on YouTube. So what I usually do is that I just change my VPN and I get the movies. I just change my VPN to USA and I just get the movies. Yeah. Wesley Snipes, man. There were some really great actors that, made childhood fun. Jet Li, like Jet Li. Oh my goodness, Jet Li and Jackie Chan. Oh, when I was young, Jet Li and Jackie Chan, man. Yo. I believe there was even a Jackie Chan cartoon. But I never watched it. Yo, those guys were different, man. Jet Li, Jackie Chan, Van Damme, all these guys, man, just so cool. They just made you'd go outside and be practicing fighting, be playing fighting with your friends. And everybody wanted to be Jet Li or Jackie Chan. Yo, those movies were really cool. I'm sure like when I go back now, like the plots of the movies, they are not that great, but the action scenes and sequences were, yeah, really fun. Um, yeah, great times, man. Great times. Great times. Now I can't watch movies as much as I want because I have bills to pay. God, adulthood, man. Romeo must die. Yeah. Oh my god. You get it? I remember Romeo must die. I believe I don't remember the names, a lot of the names. I knew there was a time I watched a bunch load of movies that Jet Li acted. But I don't remember their name. But the one I remember the most was Romeo Must Die. I remember that. I don't remember the plot, but I remember the storyline and the fight scenes. Like, oh my goodness. And then there was this guy like IP Man. I think that's the name. I was calling it Ip Man when I was younger. Um, that was probably the best um hand to hand martial like uh fight scenes I had ever seen in my life. Like, there are some things that you see in movies, and maybe as a child you would want to like replicate and things like that. You want to like take it outside and play with your friends, but IP man, you just couldn't replicate it. You were just in awe. You just like you just watch it and just be in awe. Like, what is going on? Yeah. Romeo Must Die, Cradle to the Grave. Terrible stories, but the action was great. Exactly. It's what I was saying with regards to the. It's what I was saying with regards to the plot of the stories. They were terrible, man. They were terrible. Like, I remember, like, I didn't even remember what happened. Like, some lame ass things were just going on. But I just knew that whenever Jet Li was about to fight, like, these fight scenes were just incredible. Um, like, they were just cool, man. They were just cool. There was one movie I watched of Jackie Chan where he was like, was it? He had like a watch or something that would make him fight. So many creative ideas, man. They were just dishing out content back then. Uh, Great stuff, man. Like, childhood was fun. Can't lie. You know, I'm just glad I really experienced a lot of these shows. Um, they knew it was terrible stories because they had some comedians and funny scenes. They didn't take it too seriously. Yeah, 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 exactly, man. They knew because when you remember a lot of these scenes, man, like you would just like when you think like they were just like, how would I call it now? What can I use to give as an example? Like Sakamoto Days, for instance, the manga Sakamoto Days. They, that manga actually reminds me a lot of like these early 2000s movies and like late 90s movies, because like you would see the plotting of the story was not really that great. They just had these muscly men, these really jacked gym bros as main characters, and then they will have like a damsel in distress, and then they will have like maybe they are like a commando or something, ex-commando, or like they had just returned from um kung fu, being a kung fu student or something like that. Some basic things like that, but then the stories would just, they'll just be a main bad guy, and the aim is just to beat that bad guy up. It's so simple, but it was always fun. Always fun. Hello Ransford. How you doing? Thanks for coming again. Thanks for leaving the comments. I really appreciate it, man. Whenever I come live, you and Adam always reach out, and even Delvin as well. I'm grateful, man. I really appreciate the love and support. Yeah, yeah. They will just like have these more really jacked dudes, and then they will just like you know their movie is on. Their movie is on. Yeah, but as a child, what do you know? You just want to see action. But these days, as an adult, those kind of movies might not move you a lot, because you've watched a lot of things as an adult, so a lot of storylines are quite predictable. But for kids, because they haven't seen a lot in their lifetime, um, they don't really care. So they are very like wide-eyed and things like that. So yeah. Adults are quite skeptical. We're quite skeptical as adults, because we've experienced a lot. So when you've seen the same storyline over and over and over again, you just become like jaded. Yeah, I think that's the word, jaded. You become jaded. All right, for the muscle, one thing I do whenever like the rectus abdominis or the abs, um, whenever I encounter something like this and I'm like a bit confused on like the direction the artist is going, I just try and remember like how the rectus abdominis actually looks. It's just like a set of, like, there's a there's this muscle, and then we have one, two, three, four muscles. They're not exactly like flat like this. You have to, like, do a little bit of, like, just make them look good. Like, they don't exactly look like this. Right, this is how the rectus abdominis look. And um and then we have the obliques next to it. And what else? Serratus anterior. Right, so very important. Once you learn the basics of this abdominis, rectus simply means straight. So it just means straight muscle that is located in abdomen. So what I then do is that, instead of like just being confused over here, is he said, "Have you seen the movie The Raid? You would enjoy it." Yeah, I've seen The Raid as well. It's Jet Li, right? Jet Li acted that one. I've seen Romeo Must Die, and I've seen The Raid as well. Yeah, really cool movies. I don't exactly remember the plots because I watched them a long time ago when I was a child. So, but yeah, I enjoyed that one. I enjoyed all of them, man. I enjoyed all of them. They were such good fun. Such good fun. Um, right. So we have the obliques, the abdominis, and serratus anterior, and then the lats. Right. So, but in this angle, all we're just going to see is that, we're just seeing the lats. The chest is ending in this area, and the lats is just. I'll just put the lats there. That's probably wrong. That's probably wrong. Yeah, that's probably wrong. Yeah, I'm looking confused right now. But anyways, um, your abs are four, so you can see there is one, two, yeah, and then the rest is going to be around this hand area, but they stretch all the way down to around the pubic area. So that is why you're seeing just one huge muscle here, and then you're seeing the obliques and serratus anterior muscles here like this. Yeah, so these things can be quite confusing, like, if you don't like know your anatomy. um you're welcome, Ransford, you're welcome. You said, have you seen the movie The Raid? Yeah, I have seen it. Yeah, I thought it was a new message. Right. And then the lats will just come this way. The lats would be like this, to be fair. So not a lot of muscles are going to be on display there. Well, let's just copy his own shadowing as well. Mm. I saw a story about Jim Lee that is it that his parents wanted him to be a doctor or something like that, or he was supposed to be a doctor, but he really liked comic books. He really wanted to be a comic book artist, so he spent like hours after school, like, just practicing comic book art, um, like, during all his free time. I think his father was a doctor or something, and he really encouraged him to, like, pursue comic book art. um, and it's just crazy how much influence he has had. Like, he started Image Comics, man. He started, like, he was a co-founder. I mean, there were a lot of was it DC comic book artists that year that just defected, and they just decided to tell their own stories, because I think was it DC? They were being a bit too, they're not allowing the, like, writers to tell this type of story they wanted. They were too controlling, or something like that. I think that was the vibe. And McFarlane and co, They founded Image Comics, and that's how Spawn came to life. And Youngblood by what's his name? Oh my goodness, I've forgotten his name. The guy who created Youngblood. And that's how we had amazing comics like from Robert Kirkman, The Walking Dead, Invincible, and some other stories. And they are currently working on a lot of titles, and a lot of independent artists actually go and sign contracts with them, and to publish their stories because of how much like creative freedom they give the characters. And it's sort of like a partnership program that they have. um Adam, you said you'd like to see a Spawn comeback. You don't know if they make new comics, but you'd like a new animated show or movie. Yeah, there was one Spawn comic. Not comic. TV. No, not TV show. It was a movie I watched when I was young. It was horrible, man. Like it was horrible, but I still, kind of fancied the idea. That movie was really ugly, man. Like the Spawn character as a whole, like the concept is mad. I don't know why to this day I haven't read like I haven't taken my time to read a huge bulk of the comic. I think I've just read like 8 or 9 issues in total, but I haven't like taken my time to read the rest of it. Um but like I watched that show, and it was that movie, and oh my goodness, it wasn't nice, man. I don't know why it wasn't nice, but there was an interview I saw. Was it 2 years ago or so? They said they are planning a movie, um, or something. I think he just hinted at it or something, but I don't know. It would be cool to see like an animated show of the character. I think that would be really fun. But I like McFarlane's art. I believe that's his name, McFarlane, and I just like his art style, man. He's it's so cool. It's so cool. Um, there was a cover Greg Capullo did of the Spawn comic. That was really cool. It was, the character is just, I love how bombastic the character feels. Like he just feels like a, I don't know what's the word. He has so much aura. Yeah, that's the word. He just has so much aura to him. A great character. And also the Invincible comic. Um, I do draw a lot of graphic scenes in terms of like fight scenes and stuff when I walk. So uh, like finding out about Invincible has been very helpful to me because I do reference a lot of fight scenes from Ryan Otley's work as well. Um, Yeah, aura is a good way to put it. Aura is a good way to put it. Like the cape always flowing. Like I remember the first issue, like he did, just the first issue that he released. The way the capes just floated, were just floating. Like there was a demon he drew, like, and the way he represented that demon, like it was a demon from hell. I believe it was a demon he signed a deal with. It just looked so cool, man. Like I don't know, like it was just amazing. Just amazing. Yeah, there are a lot of really skilled artists and talented artists around. I can't lie. I can't lie. Like he just has every single power in the book. He's just so OP. He has every single power in the book. Like every single like ability, whatever ability you can think of, Spawn has it. Just adding the hatches. have to I try to shape up my hatching lines, so that they don't look, terrible. Yeah, this isn't really great. I'm not doing justice to this, but especially this abdominal area. But failing is part of learning. When I wake up tomorrow and have a look at it, I'll definitely see a way to improve or look at what I could have done better. And there's variation to how dark the work is. Let me show you. Like if you look at this abs area here, like this, that is sort of the shape of the hatching line, right? You said, um, I learned how to draw chains because of him. Yeah, he's really good at chains. Yeah, like because Pond's suit has a lot of chains. Why I like McFarlane's art is because he has really dynamic panels, and the way like he just makes the cape of the character just flow. It's very expressive, and how would I put it? What's the word? It's inspirational because it would make you want to just write your own story. And I guess that's his core message as an artist, to write your own story and do your own thing. I like when he speaks as well. He's very passionate about creating your own thing and like having your own projects. I just like that about him. Like he's a really great personality as well. Um, yeah, yeah. So you see how all these hatching lines, they have like even tones, right? They make everything even. But then you can, add another layer of darkness to it by just maybe increasing the brushes and like just doing that like over again. And then you add another layer of like shading or something to it. It's not as masterful as his, but it's, you can kind of get the point. And then you could like curve it, um and you could also do like if you're using a proper brush like inking pen. um I'm using a simple sketch pen. You could always like increase the origin area of the hatching line like this, and you could add depth to that hatching line and that area, sort of showing like the darkest area of that drawing. And when you zoom out, it adds a lot of depth to the character. I guess you also have to like appreciate the inker, because I believe he has an artist that an inker that inks his work for him. He mostly does the pencils. He inks, but he mostly does the pencils. Um, yeah, layer hatching. Exactly. I guess that's the term. I guess that's the correct terminology. Layer hatching. So the darker you make the origin point, the more like sort of value you're adding to the work, and it just makes it a lot interesting. A lot of times I'm quite lazy to do this. I won't lie, I'm quite lazy to do this. So I just like put simple like basic hatching lines around, and the drawing just looks not as great as I would want it to look. That's just the collarbone. I'm just put black. Just put black. And I think here he was a bit lax with the hatching, and that's one thing I like about Jim Lee's art. He can be lax with his hatching, and it just shows you the humanity in his art and how cool it looks. um I'm going to add a bit of black here for the chest. um pectoralis major. I'm just going to put this here like this. And ideally, I should do that for everywhere. No, I'm just going to leave this area this a bit. Yeah, great. Um, that thing you mentioned, layer hatching, you could also do that like this. I'm not using the best pen for it, but we'll manage. You can just see how that area pops up a bit. It looks very rough and unprofessional, but what are you gonna do? Let's add a bit of texture here and there, random lines here and there to just make it look nice. All right, the biceps and let's add that here. And I'm just going to add use white to sort of separate this area. Yeah, and that just looks a whole lot cooler. And then hatching lines over here. Do that for the brachialis. Makes it very simple. Um Hello Dragon Arts lover, how are you doing? My best friend's beside me and she said hear me out to the drawing. Okay. I'm all ears, open to suggestion. Yeah, so these muscles always confused me. Like these muscles of the arm around this area. Like we have our ridge muscles that are sort of like this, and then you have the brachialis muscle. Yeah. And there are all these muscles around the arms. So this is why I talk about like idealized anatomy with what he uses. Like so we have our ulnar bone here. Um, right. Um, there are muscles here, right? There's the like muscles like the extensor digitorum longus, extensor brevis muscle, and extensor digiti minimi, I believe one of them is called. So, but because you sort of like understand like the structure of how the extensor muscles look and how the ridge muscles look, you can sort of like you can just play with it, right? Um, yeah, that's not how it looks. I think I messed that one up in this area. Use references, guys. Don't be like me. But anyways, there's usually a shadow around here. I think there's a muscle called Aquarius or something like that. Acronius. Yeah. But that's sort of like what's going on in this elbow area. All right. So that's like what he did here with the muscle, and of course someone like David Finch will actually darken this area, but uh, what's his name? Jim Lee doesn't always do that. So you sort of like kind of need to understand like the muscles they are playing with, and like the twist of the arm. Um, right? Because we have our ridge muscles, they usually curve like this. Yeah, they curve like this, and then we have our extensor muscles. These guys over here are our extensor muscles, right? So a lot of the muscles, they're going to have tendons connecting to the fingers. That's what those muscles do. They help to extend like you know the fingers, the digits of well, the digits on your hands, and they have the ones for the legs as well. So there are tendons that are connected to those muscles, and there are a lot of them, about 25 or so, just around the hands. Like as small as our hands are, there's just a lot going on. Um, Anyways, I guess that's that. I could add blacks here and there, but he didn't. Also, I guess the color of the costume as well. Mm. You can see the light direction. Ah, what do we have here? Under lighting. And just add this like this. The fingers. All right, and I think that's looking quite decent. The reason why I'm adding these blacks here is because it seems like the blue color of his it has a lighter value, and so the colors they are quite the level of darkness are quite different um to the black areas. Um, and this character he wears like darkish blue, navy blue. That's the color, navy blue, blue, navy blue. Uh, what am I missing? Yeah, I think I'm just gonna darken that entire area. I'm going to darken that area, and then I'm just going to put highlights here and there to just make it pop a bit. Almost done with it. All right, so moment of truth. Yeah, I think I overdid it. So you then begin to see like some parts of the arm pop out a bit. All right, that's looking nice. All right, and what you could then do is then you could then use hatching lines to like direct the form of what you're drawing. I'm not going to make it look refined, so we'll just be here all day. So I'm just going to do that for the fingers. Form, very important. And then you could then add the bottom hatches like he's doing. Yeah, hard work, hard work. Anyways, let me do the highlights here. Yeah, that's looking all right. Yeah, not bad. Right, so let me bring this we'll bring this down. Take it down, down. Take it down. Very poor imitation of, I don't know, Schwarzenegger accent. Take it down. Probably should bring this like this. Yeah, good application of blacks. Yeah. Yeah, that's all right. I think that's good. And what you could then do is you then apply some nice whites and just random whites. Whites will make it pop for like scatter effects and things like that. He does that a lot. It's one of the things to note about his work. Yeah, you could just add that here. That's not right. Yeah. Some little splatter here and there to just add a bit of texture to the work. and we're not doing background. So, but one thing I always like about his work is the clouds that he adds around like his characters. But we won't do that. We won't do that now. I spent a lot of time on this. Um, quite slow, but I like that the work came out well. It looks good. What's going on? Oh yeah, Alpha Lock. Yeah. Tomorrow I'll do something. Should I do a face? I'm quite tired, man. Spent about 120, 126 minutes. So tomorrow we'll continue. I'm going to do a part two. To be honest, I might do like up to part 20 of like Jim Lee's work, and especially since I'm not fast. So um, yeah, I might have to come back to this over and over again. But I'm done with this one. I really appreciate everyone who tuned in for the stream. I really appreciate you. Thank you, Emily, for showing up. Thank you, Adam. I really appreciate you. Thanks for showing up again. Thanks, Ransford. And thank you, Adam, again. Thank you, Dragon Arts. I really appreciate you like engaging, taking time out of your day to just watch, even though it's like 2 minutes. I'm really grateful, and thank you for like commenting as well, and having a discussion with me. Thanks for the engagement, Adam. Thanks for having this fun chat with me. It was fun reminiscing on old movies, and like the Jackie Chan's, the Jim I said Jim Lee, I said Jim Lee, Jet Lee, and Wesley Snipes, and the Van Dams, and all that. It was really fun, and decently productive. I could work on my speed to become better. I will, but yeah, just wanted it to be a chill stream. And I'll catch you in the next video. Please, if you haven't liked the video, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Try and do more studies. Studies are fun. Studies are cool. you know don't aim for perfection whenever you are doing them. Just try to improve, even if it's just in one area. And do your studies. Do as much as you can, and I'll see you in the next stream or video. Have a nice day. Thank you.